So there I was, thinking about what video I could possibly record today, and then it hit me. Today is August 31st, meaning the Regulation E format could potentially be announced tomorrow. Now, while that might be unlikely, we're only 2 weeks away from the DLC dropping, and I thought it'd be a good idea to rank how good I think each of these Pokemon will be. Now look, we don't know what kind of buffs and nerfs these Pokemon will receive in the DLC, as I do believe it was data mined that there will be about 30 new moves available in the Teal mask. This will likely be some new moves and some returning moves, so depending on what comes back and what's introduced could drastically change the viability of these Pokemon. Now, as always, we will be using Pokegears here to see what new Pokemon are returning in the DLC. Now look, the ranking system here is pretty simple. The good tier is for Pokemon that I think will be good no matter what. The potential tier are the Pokemon that I think could definitely hold a place, but we'll have to see what's introduced. The fun tier are Pokemon that I will personally enjoy using, but I don't necessarily think will hold a place. And the bad tier is just simply Pokemon that it really doesn't matter what's introduced, they're just going to be bad, and chances are they probably need an evolution. Now guys, finally, just before we jump into the tier list, if you could, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button, as it helps the channel a lot, and we have a goal to hit 5k subs before the end of 2023. And look, I know it might be a long shot, but I know we can do it. And also, boys, I finally made a Discord. I'll leave a link down below. It's still new. It still needs a lot of work, but if you want to come chat shit about, VGC, talk about some team building and whatnot, we can help each other, all that good stuff. I'll share my teams, we can chat VGC, all that good stuff. Join the Discord down below. It still needs a lot of work, but anyway, boys, let's jump into the video. Now, funny enough, this tier list was not actually in order. I kind of just saved all the pictures, threw it together, and went with this, yeah. But we have Alola Ninetales as the first Pokemon here. Now, funny enough, I do actually think Alola Ninetales is the best Pokemon returning in the DLC for a couple reasons. One, I do think Snow is the best it's ever been. Two, I think it is a fantastic Snow user. This one has a decent HP stat, really good special defense, pretty average defense stat. So having the Snow boosting its defensive stat is going to be huge. It's a very fast Pokemon with access to Aurora Veil. It has things like Encore, Disable, Icy Wind, fantastic support moves. It also has Blizzard, always 100% accurate in the Snow, which obviously it sets up for itself. It also has Freeze Dry, it has Moonblast, it has Dazzling Gleam. This one has access to a lot of tools. It can be a fantastic support, potentially even like a pretty offensive mod next to things like Chiyu. It could work really well in Tailwind. Obviously, again, just a great Snow setup, far better than a Bomber Snow. I definitely think this is probably the best Pokemon returning in the DLC. Now, sadly, number 2 here is Poliwrath. Now, Poliwrath is clearly outshined by its counterpart, which is Politoed. And also on top of that, there's just a lot better Swift Swimmers, man. Like, I don't know why I would ever use this over Basculegion. Even like something like Floatzel is probably just better. Yeah, I just think sadly Politoed's bad. Like, this mon really needs like a massive stat buff before I think it can ever be good. It's not that quick. It doesn't hit that hard. Like, water fighting's good. Like, Urshifu is like a really good mon, but this thing doesn't have access to, it doesn't really have access to anything great, right? Like, Surging Strikes is just better than anything this one can click. And yeah, it's just pretty average. Big Lax is a really, really interesting mon for a couple reasons. So, part of me thinks Snorlax will be a good Pokemon, but I kind of want to lean towards the potential tier simply because I do think right now, if I wanted to run Belly Drum, it might be, like, Ursaluna might be the better mon here, right? I definitely think Snorlax has potential. Its ability to wall out Flutter Mane is really, really good. Obviously, it has a pretty decent attack stat. It's slower than Ursaluna, which, because it is slower than Ursaluna, I kind of want to put a good tier. Like, this one, like, it has access to, like, Gluttony plus Figgy Berry. It has Belly Drum. Like, Belly Drum Recycle could be really good. Its best stab move, though, I think, is Body Slam as of right now, unless something comes back in the DLC. But yeah, Snorlax, look, I'm going to go good. I think this mod actually does... It's got a lot more than just potential. I think this mod will be really good. It's, 30 speed's really slow. It has Belly Drum. It has Body Slam. It has coverage moves. Terra as well, I do think is actually, like, really good for these normal types as well. Like, Terra Ghost could be really sick just to, like, allow you to eat, obviously, fighting type moves, and Ghosts don't really want to throw Shadow Ball into you because obviously you're a normal type. So yeah, I'm going to go with, with our boy Snorlax here being good. And then I guess we're following that up with another normal type, and that is Farret, which... Dude, Farret is one of those Pokemon where, like, this one needs a new ability, it needs a massive stat buff, and then probably even an evolution before it could be good. Yeah, sadly, Farret really doesn't do anything. I love this one, it's really cute, but its stats just aren't really up to par. Same with Noctowl. I mean, like, yeah, I don't even think this one's going to be fun. Like, I know it held a place in the Dynamax format a little bit, but I don't really see what you're going to do with this thing, even with Terra. Like, Terra just, I don't think it helps Noctowl at all. It's understated, bad typing. Yeah, just not a very good mon. Speaking of a good mon though, Politoed, my guy, one of my favorite returning Pokemon in the DLC. I'm a huge Rain fan. I love Politoed. This mon is sick. I think it is better than Pelipper. Obviously, it gives you more options like, Perish Trap as well, or sorry, Perish Song even late game, which I do think is really good with Rain. If you're able to use your Rain to get, a quick kill or two, and then you can just, perish the remaining mons as they try to stall out your Rain, which is pretty cool. It also doesn't have the weaknesses of something like Pelipper, which is also really nice. It's naturally a bit faster, I believe, off the top of my head. I think Pelipper's 60 and this is 70. I could be mistaken there. It hits pretty, hard naturally. I do think it's like a pretty decent Rocky Helmet user as well. It has, really nice special bulk. HP stats pretty solid. Defensive stats kind of lackluster, but you can invest in it pretty easily. It has access to things like Icy Wind, Icy Wind, Ice Beam. We're not sure if Scald's coming back. I kind of hope Scald's coming back for it, but we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think Politoed is probably a bit better than Pelipper as a Rain setter. It also gets things like Helping Hand and Encore and all that kind of stuff too. So really good support mon. And yeah, absolutely love it. So up next, we have the big 3 dark types from Generation 3. Look, I like Mightyana. This one is in like drastic need of an evolution. Like pure dark type right now just feels like kind of bad considering how many good dark types are in the meta. Obviously it's an Intimidate user, but like again, there's a lot better Intimidate users. This one's understated. It doesn't hit hard enough. It's not fast enough. It doesn't offer enough utility. It's too squishy. Really, really not a good mon. Shiftry is interesting though. It's going to be my first fun mon here. This is a mon that has Chlorophyll, so it can work in the sun. It has access to both Fake Out and Tailwind. Grass Dark is an interesting type. I don't think it's very good. It's kind of like, Brute Bonnet's not a great mon, kind of because of its typing just being bad. But yeah, I think Shiftry could definitely, be a fun one to use on Tailwind, just as like, again, it's a Fake Out, sorry, on Sun, because it's a Fake Out plus Tailwind mon, which is pretty cool. Then Craw, Agent Craw, the Don. This is going to be a fun one for me. I love Crawdon, adaptability, moves coming off this mon. If you go like adaptability banded, Aqua Jet in the rain, this mon's going to absolutely slap. To me, it's like kind of similar to Basculegion, but just worse, right? Worse typing, and just doesn't have Swift Swim. But I mean, look, it's still a fun mon. I think this mon can absolutely deal a lot of damage. Next up is Milotic. Now, Milotic is a pretty interesting one for me because this mon, look, you could argue that it's a good mon, but I'm just going to leave it here in potential for a couple of reasons, right? And mainly, like, I don't see Milotic being like this, massive staple in the metagame where it's like absolutely fantastic. If its defense stat was like a little bit better, maybe. And like, obviously it has access to things like Coil, which are fantastic because like its defense stat is like, it's one major letdown, right? Like its special attack's pretty decent, its speed's pretty decent, special defense is really good, HP is really solid, but then it's just got this guy like, I think it's like is it 79 or 81 defense, which is just like kind of below average. You're gonna build, like, you're gonna like spec into a bit of defense anyway, just to make sure it can live some hits. And then Coil's also really, really good for obviously just like helping, get that defensive stat up, which is nice. Coil's also really good for allowing your Muddy Waters to hit. It's also really good for allowing, things like Hypnosis to, be a bit better. Has access to things like recovery as well and whatnot. But I think the main thing this mon's going to have is obviously competitive. Now, the good thing about competitive, for those of you who don't know, when one of your stats are lowered, your special attack goes up too. So it's very similar to Defiant, but obviously you're a special mon. So like, for example, a Defiant mon will get its attack stat lowered by 1, but then raised by 2, so you'll be +1. Whereas a competitive mon, if you get intimidated, is just +2 special attack, which is really, really good when pairing with mons that don't want to be intimidated. So like, for example, off the top of my head, you're talking about mons like Landorus, potentially Urshifu. Obviously, Urshi will always crit on its, its main stab, but, it helps out at CCs, Aqua Jet, Sucker Punches, all that kind of stuff. My guy, Roaring Moon, even looking at this list, if you want to run like a Physical Infernape or something like that, yeah, like it's really, really good to put next to those. And because of that, I do think Milo will have potential, especially if you pair it up with some like really hyper offensive mons and you kind of just like sit it there, you click Coil once or twice, you start firing off Hypnosis or Muddy Waters. This one could definitely do a lot. And look, Pure Water is really good. I really wish this one was in like the Nat Dex, because I do think like if Milotic was available from like day one, it would have been like probably the best or second best special attacking water type we had behind our guy Iron Bundle. But even then, with Iron Bundle's usage going down, I think this mon will rise up. And then on top of that as well, water typing is such, like, it's so good that if you just give this thing a defensive terror, this mon can just basically sit there, live for ages, fire off, a lot of Muddy Waters, potentially get some accuracy drops. And yeah, this mon can be really, really annoying to deal with. Next up is Big Bad Dusclops, probably the only mon on this list. Actually, that's a lie. One of 2 mons on this list that are probably better than its evolution. Dusclops is, in my opinion, actually, I don't think it's even my opinion. I think it's everyone's opinion. Dusclops is the best Trick Room setter we have coming back, potentially, because we don't know if P2 is coming back in DLC 1 or DLC 2. It's the only one that hasn't been revealed, I believe, in a trailer, but it has been data mined to be returning. So we're not sure if P2 is coming back in DLC 1. If it comes back in DLC 1, that and Dusclops are going to be really cool next to each other. But yeah, Clops, we'll talk about that for now. Clops is fantastic for a lot of reasons. Its HP stat is really low, but defensive stats are really high. Its speed stat is also incredibly low. It's a ghost typing too, which means it can't be faked out. And the best thing about fake out against, ghost typings, especially in a Dynamax format, lol, a Terra format, is you can go for Terra Dark, right? Terra Dark on a ghost type, they mix so well, right? Ghosts are weak to 2 typings. It's the ghost type, it's the dark type. Dark resists both of those, and on top of that, Dark can't be Prankster Taunted. So it is just a fantastic defensive typing on Dusclops here. I definitely think there'll be a lot of potential for this mon. And yeah, this one, it sets Trick Room. It has access to, what's it called? Pain Split, which is really good. Like I mentioned, it has like a really low HP stat. The reason that's so important is because even if like you're 50% and your opponent's 50%, if your opponent's like, for example, like an Urshifu or something that has like, Urshi's probably not a good example actually, because they don't invest much in their bulk. But let's just say like you're going up against like a max HP Landorus, right? Landorus has quite a bit more HP than you, so even if you pain split it, right, you might go up to like say 65% and they'll drop down to like 35%. So that's really cool. It also has access to things like Nightshade. Nightshade's just a really good consistent 50 damage coming out of a Trick Room setter, which is really, really nice. It also has access to things like Bulldoze as well, which makes it a really, really good Trick Room partner. Pokemon, one of which I'll talk about later, which I don't know if many people have it on their radars. But yeah, look, even something like Rhyperior, which I believe is coming back in DLC 2. Dusclops, obviously, back in the Dynamax format, early like Sword and Shield was really good with that. Even things like Tokol, which again, I don't think you want to pair it up with like a Tokol to bulldoze it, but maybe like a weakness policy Tokol next to this could be really good. But yeah, I do think Dusclops is the premier Trick Room setter coming back in DLC Part 1. Chimecho, this one's bad. I mean, it's a Psychic type with Levitate. It's whatever. It's really understated. It probably needs an evolution. Yeah, this one really isn't doing anything. Torterra, part of, I think, where all these starters are going to go. I love Torterra. It's one of my favorite starters. Its ability Shell Armor is really, really good, obviously, into the Urshifus. So that paired up with, like, a good defensive Terra could actually be pretty decent for it. Its biggest issue, though, is it's like, slow, but it's not slow enough. And it's, like, bulky, but it's not bulky enough. And it kind of hits hard, but like Rillaboom hits harder and then has grassy terrain, right? So like it's one of those starter mons where like, honestly, this mon looking at it should have like 20 base speed and then you just like throw those 40, base points like somewhere else. But yeah, unfortunately, Torterra is like, it kind of got like cucked by like the whole starter treatment, right? Where it's like, yeah, like it's 535 base stats or whatever, but like we're going to make it like decently fast and have decent special attack no matter what. I do think this mon kind of needs just a bit of a better stat distribution, but nonetheless, I do think Shell Armor plus Terra could give this mon a niche. Now, the second best starter ever introduced in Pokemon, my guy Infernape. This mon does a lot of things. It can be special attacker, it can be physical attacker, it can be a mixed attacker. It has access to things like Fake Out, decent support. Unfortunately, as much as I love Ape, I'm just going to say this mon's going to be fun. You could definitely do something cool with this mon. As I said, it's a mixed attacker. You can run it, with, say, like, Flare Blitz, CC, and Overheat, potentially Fake Out as well. Throw a Sash on it, even like a Terra Ghost. I do think Terra on this one will be kind of cool because like it is decently fast. I do believe like Timid/Jolly does outspeed, or actually no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I was gonna say I think it outspeeds like the like 180 Fluttermanes, but I don't think it actually does, right? I'm just quickly gonna pull this up here. Let's just quickly calc. You boys see some of my stuff I've been working on. That's not what we want. SV. Let's just go Nat Dex. Sorry about this one. I should have done this earlier. Infernape at 108. There's no way this hits the 180 mark, right? I'm gonna guess this is like 170 something. If I had to guess. Yeah, it's gonna be 176. Yeah, damn. Alright, so it does just fall short there of getting the Fluttermanes, which is kind of sad. But look, nonetheless, I think it'll be fun. Firefighting is a pretty good offensive typing. And then we have the final Generation 4 starter, Empoleon. Now, Empoleon is actually the one I was kind of talking about earlier when I was talking about Dusclops. I actually think there's a world in which Defiant Empoleon is like good, right? Like, I think Defiant's like always fine. The issue with like Defiant on a mon like this is like Empoleon's like attack stat is like pretty low, right? Like you look at this thing, you're like, oh yeah, this one's like a special attacker. Like that's what you would use it for. But like I think going like weakness policy on this one, plus Defiant with like Bulldoze is really good. Because even if you just go like adamant, right, you're just like, damn, this thing's got like no attack, yeah? No wonder it's got no attack because it don't have that. So it hits like 150, but then if you get like a Defiant plus weakness policy in the same turn, all of a sudden like you're at +4, and this like 150 all of a sudden just becomes like, what, 450? And it also has access to things like Aqua Jet and Liquidation, which are really, really nice. Its main issue is it doesn't have Iron Head. Hopefully it does get that in the DLC, but if not, we're just kind of relying on like Terra Blast or Steel Wing. But yeah, this mon definitely really, really cool. I'm gonna say it has potential. I think it is probably better than all these mons. Definitely not as good as Bilo, but who knows? Maybe there's a world in which, you know, this mon paired up with Terra could be really good. Now, Ambipom, a personal favorite Pokemon of mine. This mon has like all the potential in the world, but just does not have the kit to do it. Like this mod, like in my opinion, should get access to a lot of the stuff Incineroar gets. Like, you know, it could be like a great fake out user, you know, potentially parting shot and stuff like that. I really feel like it should get more, you know, support moves than it does. And if they gave it more, it would be really cool. I'm going to say it's fun tier. I think it is a lot better than these mons. Like, these mons here, in my opinion, are just straight up bad. Like, they can't do anything. This is, like, decently fast, you know, with, like, Terra, you know, normal maybe, could do some things. Obviously, it's a relatively quick fake out user as well. So I'm just going to say, you know, this is a fun mon. At some point, I'll definitely use it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be crazy good. Yanmega... Yanmega's interesting because it does have speed boost, so like, and its typing is pretty bad with like flying and bug, but like Terra just fixes a lot of those issues, right? I think it's kind of somewhere between fun and potential, right? Speed boost is like always cool, and like flying plus bug is like actually decent coverage. But I'm just gonna say it's bad. I don't really see this one doing too much if I'm being honest. Gliscor, my guy Gliscor, one of my absolute favorite Pokemon. Gonna put this guy at the top of fun tier. Now, I know a lot of people have been memeing on him saying like he's not gonna be good, you know, his attack stats pretty low. Like obviously this one in singles is fantastic with things like Toxic Orb. But I do think a Sand Veil plus Bright Powder set could be pretty funny. And obviously too, in one like this, it's kind of like Lando, right? Terra Water on this one is gonna be so sick. You know, it gets rid of the ice weakness, it gets rid of the water weakness, which I believe it's only 2 weaknesses. So yeah, and like because it's a ground type as well, you're already naturally like immune to the electric types, and because you're a flying type, you're just neutral to the grasses. So water is a super good defensive typing on this. I do think it could be really fun. I also did theory craft potentially running Terra Rock plus Rock Slide. Don't know how good it would be, but I have thought about it just because obviously that gives you the special defense boost then, and you would just be incredibly bulky. Now, Mamo is a mon that definitely has a lot of potential. Hits really damn hard. It has a pretty nice speed tier as well. I think it's base 80. I'm going to quickly double check that. I should have done this a bit earlier. I wasn't originally planning to add this stuff to the video, but yeah, base 80. So like this mon, if you go to level 50, it's definitely like a focus sash mon just because it's like defenses are like pretty average. But yeah, with sash, this mon hits pretty, it hits pretty quick. Yeah, 145. That'll like outspeed Adamant, oh, actually, that doesn't outspeed Adamant Urshi's, but it gets to around the speed they're on. Because a lot of people go to like 143 here to outspeed, what's it called? The non-booster bundles, right? It's like the fastest one you gotta like worry about. But yeah, hits really freaking hard. It has a lot of good coverage. Definitely has a lot of potential. I do think it could hold a place on, you know, some hyper offensive teams. Obviously, you know, Icicle Crash plus Ice Shard plus like EQ and whatnot. Really, really good. Has the potential to be a really solid mon. Conkelda. Now, Conk, I do think is kind of in a similar spot to Milo, right? It's borderline being a really good Pokemon. I think my biggest issue with it is it's like, why would I run this as my Gutsmon over Ursaluna? They have very similar speed tiers, but Ursaluna is like just a better Pokemon in my opinion. I guess the main difference though is Conk does have access to Mach Punch, which I guess is like one of the big differences. Like it can actually function outside of the Trick Room. Also, I do think Conk with like AV is also like a pretty decent mon. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Conk is like a really, really good mon. But I think it's going to be one of those mons where, you know, if you know what you're doing with it, Conk will be good. And I definitely think it'll still be good no matter what. I just don't think it's going to be a mon that's like getting a lot of play. Next up, Chandelier. Chandelier is another mon, I think pretty similar to a lot of these mons in potential where like Chandelier is like really cool for a couple of reasons, right? Like one, has like base 145 special attack, which is like absolutely insane. It's nutty. It's a ghost type as well, which like ghost is just like such a good offensive typing, dude. Like Shadow Ball just like hits everything for like neutral damage. Fire is also like another really good offensive type as well. Like fire ghost coverage is like crazy. Terra, obviously, this mon loves. It's also in a position where, like, at 80 base speed, it is relatively quick, but it can also function in both Trick Room and Tailwind. And one thing I like doing with mons like this as well, like, as it is a Trick Room setter, is you can run it to, like, 107. And then, like, if you're going up against another, like, aggressive team, you can set Trick Room with this mon. But if you're going up against, like, an opposing Tailwind team, you can kind of use this mon as your Trick Room setter, right? And then it's just like, oh, like, you want to go quick? I'm going to slow it down. But, like, also, like, hey, if your team's slow, I can, like, get the Tailwind up, and this one's just going to outspeed everything. So, really cool. Hits really hard. It also gets, like, some nice utility moves. So, I definitely think it has potential. Obviously, not going to be as good as, like, Clops as, like, a Trick Room setter, but it'll definitely be up there. It'll definitely see some play. Now, speaking of a Trick Room setter, we have Trevenant. Now, I don't think I can say Trevenant has potential, but I mean, like, it has potential, right? But I don't think it's going to be in the potential tier. For those who don't know, this one is another pretty decent Trick Room setter, right? It's a Ghost type. Ghosts are just really good at setting Trick Room simply because they're immune to Fake Out, right? Which is really, really good. They can always go Terra Dark, which is pretty solid because, Terra Dark is, like, really good for Ghost types, right? It gets rid of some of their weaknesses. And yeah, that's just really solid. Plus, this one also does have a pretty decent attack stat paired up with the fact that it has Harvest. So this is a one where you can pair it with things like Tokol in Sunroom. This can be your, your Trick Room setter. Eventually you get your Tokol in, and then all of a sudden this mon's just sitting there eating a Citrus Berry every single turn, right? You just put a lot of bulk in it. It sits there, it eats its berries, it stays healthy. Really, really cool mod. I love Trevenant. I think it has one of the sickest shinies. I also didn't touch on that either with, like, Gliscor. Gliscor's up there, one of the sickest shinies. I love them both. But yeah, definitely going to be a fun mod. I'll definitely try it out on Sunroom at some point. Now, speaking of Trick Room, my guy, Vikavolt. Now, I've actually... This is my other hot take, right? I feel like Empoleon was kind of a hot take. This is my other hot take here. I think Vikavolt in Trick Room is going to be a freaking menace for a lot of different reasons, right? So, first main reason is hits so freaking hard. Base 145 special attack. We said it with Chandelier. That is insane. This mod also has things like, it has Volt Switch, T-Bolt, Discharge, Bug Buzz, access to potential Terra Blast. I think it also gets a couple of good coverage moves that I can't think of off the top of my head. But the main thing with this mod, right, that I potentially see is, one, it has Levitate, plus it's an electric type, yeah? So Terra Electric with Levitate has no weaknesses. But in Trick Room, because it's so freaking slow, yeah, there is a ground type that is really freaking good, that likes to spam Earthquakes, yeah? Ursaluna, right? You've got your ground type Ursaluna, and you've got your levitating electric type Vikavolt. You can just Disquake spam, and you're freaking G. Also, this one underspeeds Ursaluna, I'm pretty sure. And what does Ursaluna not want to deal with? It doesn't want to freaking deal with that freaking Rillaboom getting his grassy terrain up. What does Rillaboom not want to deal with? A 145 base special attack Bug Buzz in its freaking face, man. I think this one has a lot of potential. One of the teams I'm definitely going to try out early on is Vikavolt plus Ursaluna. I love it. Another 6 shiny as well. Yeah, this one has a lot of potential. I'm sure people are going to say it's bad. It's been bad in the past. But I think Vikavolt really has a chance to be something, pretty good, at least in Regulation E. Now, I do believe Komo here is one of the few pseudo-legends actually not in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just Komo and Metagross. And Metagross is confirmed for DLC 2, right? Just trying to think. Tita Salamence and D-Knight are all in. Chomp is in. Hydrate. Yeah. They're all in. Everyone's in but these two. Anyway, Komo, this one actually might be good. I'm really torn between good and potential. But, like, this is like an Iron Defense body press mon that, just has body press as a stab, right? I definitely think that could be good. Also, like, when you get a mon that's, like, dragon fighting, its biggest weakness is obviously fairy, but, like, Terra just, like, helps that out so much. Like, this mon could go, like, Terra, like, Steel, Terra Fire, whatever it thinks it needs, and can be really freaking good. Yeah, Komo, like, there's not much to say, right? It's a pseudo legendary. It has great stats. Also, it's like, signature move plus throw spray is really cool. Getting like the Omni boost and then like +2 into the special attack could be really solid. Obviously you pair that with things like Shroom and whatnot. It could be, yeah, freaking sick. Not much really to say about Komo. I think this one has the potential to be really solid. Cramorant, this mon is simply fun because of its ability, and that's about it. Gulp Missile, is fun. The mon is bad. Dusknoir. Now, Dusknoir actually might be, like, decent. Obviously, like, for those who don't know, like, this mon is considered way worse than, like, the baby form. And you look at these stats here, and you're like, yeah, why would Dusclops be, like, better than Dusknoir? Like its HP's bigger, its attack's bigger, everything's bigger. It's better Violet, right? Also 100 attack. I honestly thought this mod had like 135 attack. I'm just gonna put that in bad. I must have seen that in a ROM hack and just thought it carried over. Yeah, this mod, if it had more attack, maybe. I just don't think it's ever worth running it, dude. It's too fast and doesn't hit hard enough. Charbok, the Cobra. Again, pretty like it's like in a very similar spot to like Mightyana, where it's like an Intimidate user that like does nothing outside of Intimidate. I mean, it has Glare, I guess, but again, like it's just such an understated mod. Like I kind of wish I showed off this like with some of the other mods, man. Like, dude, 448. Like it's literally Gen 1 treatment, right? Like if you give this mod 20 in every single stat, just give it another 100. Like, I mean, at that point, it's like probably decent, but like not even like 80, 115, 90, 85, 100, 200. I don't, even if you give this one 20 across the board, I still don't think it's good, dude. I think it's just a bad Pokemon. Oh, now finally, we have 3 pretty freaking good Pokemons around this tier list stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Clef is gonna be good. I've seen people like Neil VGC say that like Mousehold's just better, obviously because like Super Fang. But the big difference between Mouse and Clef is like Clef has speed control, which I mean isn't necessarily like the biggest thing. Like Icy Wind's cool and all. But it's just so much bulkier, man. Like obviously it has Followed Me. I think it has Sing. I'm pretty sure it has Sing. It's got things like Icy Wind, dude. Like you can also run like I believe it gets Moonblast. It should get Moonblast, so you can even use that to potentially pick up like Urshis or help pick up KOs on them. But yeah, it's just so freaking bulky. As a friend guard like redirection mon, it's yeah, and also its typing's better, right? Like I think Fairy's a better defensive typing than normal. You resist more. You're immune to dragon. Obviously you can eat things like close combats, right? Like you can like. I think the main thing is like it's gonna be different, right? Because I don't think Clef is gonna be better next to like say Golden Ape, like how Mousehold was. Because Mouse next to them is really good, right? Because it's like, oh, I've got my Flutter Mane, I want to click Shadow Ball, but if he redirects it into a normal type, it's bad. Yeah, like obviously in those situations, Mouse is gonna be better, but I do think Clef is gonna be more flexible, especially with things like say Roaring Moon, where it's like, oh, you want to hit my Roaring Moon with a fighting type? It's like, well, I resist you now. You want to hit it with a dragon type, I'm immune to it, that kind of stuff. Yeah, like there's little things like that. It's also bulkier. As I said, speed control is always like really cool as well, right? Like you protect the mon next to it, you click Icy Wind, all of a sudden you're faster. Really freaking cool mon. Clef has been the bane of existence in singles for a very long time. I personally do not like Clef much at all. I want to say because of Terra, this one has potential. I mean, it's just so like. It's funny, right? Like we looked at Arbok where it has like this has like less stats than Arbok, but it's actually just better, right? It has a better typing, it has better abilities, like its defense is like pretty solid. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it's bad, honestly. I know some people are probably gonna get mad at me for saying that. Like it hits pretty hard for a fairy type as well, I guess. I just don't want to put it in the fun tier because I don't think it's fun. To me, Clef's boring. It has Unaware, it has a decent move pool. It's not bad. I just think Clefairy is just so much better. And then finally, to round it off, probably another hot take from me, but I do think I think normal Arcanine is actually really good. Yeah, like I know a lot of people are gonna like turn to Tokol and say Tokol's better than this, but really, I don't think Tokol is better than it. Yeah, like I mean, like, oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. I worded that poorly. I think Torkoal's better, but they're better for different reasons, right? So like Torkoal is better because it's like nothing underspeeds it in Trick Room. On top of that, full HP eruptions are absurd amounts of damage in the sun. I believe Tokol also has like 7 base special attack more than this, right? Let's have a look. 4 more. Okay, it's 4 more. So I thought this was 77. So it's got 4 more special attack. So Tokol hits a little bit harder. But the main difference to me is this speed stat paired up with, like support moves like Willow, yeah? Like, the big thing with like Tokol is, for example, up against things like Iron Hands, right? It's like, if your Iron Hands, say for example, is like on lead, it's like, oh, like I set the sun, but I'm not really doing anything. Yeah, it's like, like say for example, if you play it with like Paradox team, yeah, you've got it with like the Flutter Manes, the Roaring Moons. It's like, oh yeah, like this one's like not bad. It's like gonna sit there. It's probably a bulky set. Most likely eject pack, plus overheat, or like you're playing it on like Sunroom, right? Where, in my opinion, Tokol doesn't fit the Paradox Sun modes as well as like as well as Ninetales will. For example, like Joe UX9 ran Tokol like for a lot of the series. He did really good with it. And, you know, I tested some of his teams, and to me it was like, maybe it's just my playstyle, but having no speed on the Tokol just felt bad, whereas I feel like, you know, Ninetales with like Helping Hand, Overheat, Will-O-Wisp could be like really freaking good. Like, I think it has a potential, especially on those Paradox teams with things like Fluttermane, you know, Fluttermane, Roaring Mid, you know, even potentially the guy, why am I blanking? Great Tusk. Potentially there's something there. I definitely think it will be good. It's definitely a one I'll try out, especially when I'm testing Sun. But yeah, guys, that's the list, I guess. Pretty even. Do I want to change anything? Maybe I like Yanmega to Fun just because I like it. Sadly, I do think like the way I look at it is these 3 mons here are like decently statted, just not like amazing. These like mons here are just bad. You know, you're bad. I'm not gonna even put you in Fun. You're bad. These guys are all fun though. I like these guys. They're all cool guys. Gliscor, dude, this is the dream here, boys. But sadly, maybe potential. Maybe Gliscor has potential. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll do my best to make this one good. The starters too. These 2 here, I would love to see like just like, even like decent. But yeah, guys, I guess that's my list. Let me know what you think of it down below. Obviously, you know, we got no idea what's going to happen to these mons in the DLC, right? Like, you know, who knows? Maybe fucking, you know, maybe Infernape gets like a new signature move that's like Victory Dance, and then maybe it also gets like 2 moves that are just buffed by Iron Fist, and all of a sudden it has 2 stab moves with like 150 base power, and it has Victory Dance. You never freaking know, boys. You never freaking know. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.